I'm great, teacher.
Very good. That's good to hear. I like that little tag that you've added there, Lamb. You're a pro writer. I like it. Okay. So this week we're up to the next plot, which is Voyage and Return. Now, one thing I'll say before we begin talking about Voyage and Return, it's going to sound a lot like it's going to sound very, very similar to the plot that we discussed last week, the quest. But the main difference is that the quest, say in a story like Lord of the Rings, is all about the journey to achieve the goal. But the voyage and return is more like the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy ends up in the land of Oz, and it's all about her journey to complete the goal and then get back to her original life. So that's the difference. The quest is about one way, voyage and return, think of it like a two-way trip. It's about going there and coming back. So, just a quick couple of minute conversation with you guys, by way of raising your hands. Um, let's talk about the plot that we learned about last week, which was the quest. So while you guys were writing your stories, what did you enjoy about writing your quest story? What's something that you enjoyed about it? Let's try Robert. Hello, Robert.
Hello, teacher.
So can you tell us what's something that you enjoyed about writing a quest story last week?
I enjoy to do something like flying treasure or something like adventure
Very cool. So you enjoyed getting to write it.
and discover something.
Very good. Thank you very much, Robert. Let's try Anna. What's something that you enjoyed about writing a quest story last week?
I think that I enjoy writing the plot of the story. Last week, the plot and the adventure in the story.
So you had fun telling a story about the adventure, did you?
Yes, I did.
Very good. Thank you, Anna. Lamb, our pro writer. What did you enjoy about writing a quest
I
story?
I, I enjoy about writing many actions in my quest story.
So you like writing about the action, all of the exciting bits.
Yeah,
Terrific.
and finding some mystery.
Very good. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Lamb. Well done. And Sunny, what did you enjoy about
I
writing your quest
enjoyed
story?
that. I know to write like an adventure to find a treasure, like a quest, and um, I know I have many imagination to write my story.
Very good. So you like getting to use your imagination. That's great.
Yeah, I have a big imagination.
Good. Don't ever let that change, Sonny. If you have a big imagination, you keep it big. Okay. So our next question is, who faced a challenge or who found it difficult to write their quest story last week? Did anybody have any troubles?
I have a trouble.
What happened, Lamb? Tell us about it.
I write two short adventures.
You found that your adventures were a bit too short?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're finding that your stories just aren't long enough, go back to your try two things I'd recommend. First of all, go back to your story map where you planned the story out initially, that little chart that we always fill out. And when you do that, go back and just have a look. Are there enough events happening in the story? Are there enough individual things happening? And if you don't think so, you can maybe think about adding another one or two. Or if you think you have enough events in the story, go back and reread your story and see if maybe you can add a bit more detail to a particular part of the story. Maybe you could, share some more details. Maybe you could add in a conversation between some characters. There are lots of little tricks that you can do to fill it out if it needs to be longer. But I'm glad that you're realizing that that's a problem, because now we can start to do something about fixing it. Well done. Okay, let's move on. So we'll do a little bit of an icebreaker here because we're talking about voyage and return. So I'm just going to start randomly picking people to answer the questions. And I want you just to answer, where would you like to travel to if you could make any voyage possible? And so I'm talking about if you'd like to travel through space, or if you'd like to go on a holiday to a faraway country. Maybe you'd like to jump in a submarine and go for a cruise under the ocean. Anything you can think of that you'd like to do. Lamb.
I don't know what is voyage.
So a voyage is like a journey. So a voyage is a journey. So if you go on a holiday, you can consider that going on a voyage, or a voyage and return. So yeah, who has a voyage that they would like to take? Excuse me. I'll tell you about mine. So mine's not very exciting, but it'll be exciting for me. I would love to, if I could, spend 2 years and just travel all around the United States of America. So I'd go and spend some time in New York, California, Florida. I'd love to visit some of the other states like Massachusetts and just go all around the country and just spend a couple of years experiencing the whole culture. I reckon it'd be great. So that's mine. Oh, Lamb.
I'm going to travel to my game and be a character of it.
Ah, very nice. What kind of game is it?
Like Shadow Fight.
Cool.
And
What happens in this game? Where do you travel? What do you have to do?
I just visit it and see some guys are fighting.
Very cool. Very cool. Does anybody else have a voyage that they would like to go on sometime? A cruise on the ocean, a holiday to another country, any sort of trip that they would like to take? Who has one? Make sure we use the raise hand icon so that I can see who'd like to answer. Okay. No one has a voyage they'd like to go on besides Lamb. Okay. So again, so we're up to plot number 4 this week. And again, we notice that the voyage and return plot has again 5 stages. So just like what are the ones we've done so far? We've got overcoming the monster. We've got rags to riches we've done. We've got the quest we did last week, and tonight we've got navigating the voyage. So we're starting to notice here that all of these stories can be broken down into 5 separate parts. I've got my information here about it. So the 5 stages of the navigating the voyage plot. So number 1, so actually I'll just gonna think here. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, I'll give you 3 examples of a voyage and return story. So number 1, we've got Alice in Wonderland, because the story is not so much about getting there. The story is about what they do there and how they get home. Another one is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I mentioned that one already. It's not how Dorothy gets to the land of Oz. It's what she does when she's there and how she gets home to Kansas. And the other one is The Chronicles of Narnia. So The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So we know in those stories that all they have to do to get into Narnia is just walk through the wardrobe into Narnia. But it's once they're there, that's where they've got to fight the battles and help Aslan regain the kingdom and defeat the Ice Queen. So, can anyone else think of any stories that might be considered a voyage and return? Yes, not. All right, so let's talk about then the 5 stages of a voyage and return story. So, number 1, the first part of the voyage and return story is called The Anticipation and the Fall into Another World. Okay, so in this first portion of the story, again, remembering that it's not so much how they get there, it's what they do when they get there and get back. So the anticipation and the fall into another world, very similar to the quest story, or to the rags to riches story, actually. We see our main character living a very ordinary, maybe a not very nice life, maybe boring, maybe tough, but they're just kind of muddling through life. And then just something happens. And to be honest, in a voyage and return story, it doesn't even matter what happens. But something happens to take them to this new world that they're going to spend the story in. So if we think of Alice in Wonderland, she fell down the rabbit hole and ended up in Wonderland. In which one is it? The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy ends up in a cyclone, gets blown away to the land of Oz. Or what is another one? The Chronicles of Narnia. The wardrobe that they use to get into Narnia is just sitting in their house, and all they have to do is just open it up and go in. So it doesn't matter whether doesn't matter what this event is, but something happens, and our character, our main protagonist, ends up in another world. Yes, Sunny.
The navigating the voyage, like the story, the quest is similar because it's both adventure, but the quest is like finding treasure. The adventure of finding treasure, but navigating a voyage is like we travel that way and we return that after.
That's right. Very good. So a quest is all about the journey from the starting point all the way to the end. So that's a quest. Whereas voyage and return, it doesn't matter how the character gets where they're going. So, like we just talked about, I might get blown away in a cyclone, fall down a rabbit hole, walk through a wardrobe to get there. But what matters is once they're there, what happens? So it's all about getting back to their initial home. So similar, yeah. Okay, so next up, after our fall into another world, we have the initial fascination or the dream stage. So in The Wizard of Oz, that's where Dorothy gets to Oz and she sees, all of the little lollipop people and all the bright colors, and it's very different to her normal world where she lives. So this is all about, oh my gosh, this is so great. This is really wonderful. And yeah, so whether that's making new friends or whether that's seeing something incredible that she couldn't see in her regular life. Okay, now the other part of the dream stage, as well as everything being super amazing and perfect, our main character needs to have a small sense that something's not quite right. So everything still looks amazing, but there's just a small feeling that our protagonist has that says something's not right here. But it needs to be very, very so it can be something obvious. It can be something very, very small, but it needs to predict for our reader that there's going to be some trouble ahead. So that's what we're doing at this stage. Number three is the frustration. And in the frustration, this is where things do start to go wrong. So it's just problem after problem after problem. Nothing's going right for our main character. As soon as they have solved one problem, an even bigger problem comes along that they've now got to deal with. So number 4, the next part we have is called the nightmare. And this is where things go from bad to worse. So if we think about, for example, if we think about our overcoming the monster stage, remember part 4 in the overcoming the monster story where it seems like our hero's done for, there's no hope, they're almost defeated. That's part 4 here as well, the nightmare. Things are just so bad, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to beat this situation. And number 5, this is what we stuck around for. This is why we've been reading since the beginning of the story. Our hero finally overcomes the odds, beats the situation, and manages to get themselves home safely, having learned, obviously, their very valuable lessons from the voyage they just took. But yeah, so that is the 5 parts of a those are the 5 parts of a voyage and return plot. Does anyone have any questions about those?
There's no.
No worries. Anyone else?
No.
No questions. Beautiful. Okay. Now, one thing that I would like to point out to you in the thrilling escape and return. So, the thrilling escape doesn't have to have a happy ending. So, in Dorothy's case, in The Wizard of Oz, yes, it was a happy ending. She got home, Toto was safe, she was safe, and she had a wonderful adventure. But if we think about it, so for example, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, hers wasn't exactly a happy ending. She got away unharmed. She'd learned a lesson, but it wasn't a happy ending because she basically got scared and chased off by a family of bears because she ate their porridge and slept in their bed. Not a good ending, but she didn't get hurt either. And then there can be some endings in stories like this where they're just bad. So like they get away and they escape from the voyage, they return, but there may be some consequences. They may end up losing their friends or losing something that was valuable to them, or just any amount of bad circumstances that can happen after you've returned. So that is a possibility too. But yeah, so the basic thing there is, as long as our character ends up stronger than they were at the beginning of the story, and they've learned a valuable lesson that they're going to take forward the rest of their lives, that's ideally where we want to end up with a voyage and return plot. Okay. So we're going to break off into some breakout rooms to plan our story. I'll give you guys 15 minutes to do that. Plan your stories out. That should be saving a screenshot. I'll find it somewhere. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure that I send these. Terrific. Okay, so I've just sent that to the 5 parts of the story to everyone in the chat. So you guys are going to use that to map out the plot lines like you've been doing every week, except this week we're going to come back and we're going to have we're going to share our story plan with the other half of the class and get a bit of feedback on what's happening in our stories. So I will do breakout rooms. Create 2. And perfect. Look at that. We got 2 groups of 4. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to set the breakout room for 15 minutes. And yeah, so the 2 groups, just plan your voyage and return stories out. And then we'll come back in 15 minutes and we will share it with the rest of the class, the other group. And we'll do a little bit of feedback on them too. So what we think is good, what we think could be improved perhaps. Okay, so I've opened the rooms. Just to let you know, everybody, I'm going to be jumping in between breakout rooms every now and then. So if you need help, just call for me.
Teacher, our team isn't finished the contents of the story.
Pardon?
Our team isn't finished the story.
How much more time would you like?
I just write to the plots the next
Has
page.
one of you's dropped off?
What?
There were 7 of you, and looks like Hanny's gone somewhere.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I can't see Hanny anywhere. Okay. All right, I'll reopen the breakout rooms for another 10 minutes. And what I'll do is I'll go with group 2 into their room. I'll hear about their story. And then as soon as I've heard that, you're pretty much good to go. But yeah, so instead of talking about the story maps, we'll just give you a bit more time in the breakout rooms. Okay. So I'll be in shortly with you, group number 2. Can't wait to hear all about your story. Ah, there's Hanny. She's back. Hi everyone, just to let you know, both teams are still working on their story maps in the breakout rooms. So whatever you get done in the next 10 minutes, you just have to finish the rest and then write the story like usual for homework. So I'll see you guys shortly when you get out of the breakout rooms. Okay, so hopefully you guys got the majority, if not all of those plans finished. Hopefully you got the majority of it done. So your homework this week, as always, will be to write this week it will be to write the voyage and return story. And I look forward to reading them as you submit them. So I'll see you all next Monday night, guys. Have a lovely week.
Is it finished?
Yeah, class is finished.
Oh.
Class.